1 says, what is the perimeter with the given triangle? Who can tell me what the perimeter is going to be for that given triangle? Abby? 30 feet. Good. 30 feet is going to be the perimeter. In order to be able to figure that out, we have a right triangle here, and what was explained in yesterday's lesson is that you have, for a right triangle, you have two measurements or two sides that are called the what? Who remembers what we call those? The legs, right? And the legs are labeled A and B. It doesn't matter which one's A or which one's B, as long as you know that the legs form a right angle. The legs are going to form a right angle, and then directly across from the right angle, so if I look at the right angle and look at the side that is directly across from it, that's going to be measurement C, which we call the what? Hypotenuse. Good. And basically the idea of Pythagorean theorem is when you have a right triangle, if you take the measurement of A and square it, and take the measurement of B and square it, and then add those two squared values together, it's going to be equal to the measurement of C squared. So you have A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now, based off of what we have here, A is my unknown value, so I'm going to leave it as A squared. My B is 12, so I'm going to go ahead and put 12 squared. And then I'm going to set that equal to 13 squared, because 13 is my C. Okay, now 12 squared, this is why I told you guys it's really helpful if you have those perfect squares memorized. What is 12 squared? 144. And what is 13 squared? 169. Okay, now you have the equation A squared plus 144 is equal to 169. To solve, you would subtract both sides by 144. And that's going to leave you with A squared equaling 25. But we're not done, because I don't want A squared. I need the measurement of A. So what do I have to do to get A by itself? Take the square root, right? The opposite of squaring a value is to square root the value. So you have to take the square root of both sides. And remember in the video yesterday I said that because we're dealing with geometry, we are not going to have a negative value. You cannot have a negative geometric measurement in this case, okay? In these cases, when we're talking about things like perimeter or things like area, it has to be positive values. So this is going to be the positive value for A. So that's going to be A equaling 5, and that's 5 feet. Now, I'm not done, because the question didn't ask me for the measurement of A. The question asked me for the perimeter. So in order for me to find the perimeter, I need to go ahead and add all the values together. So I'm going to take the value of A, which I just found was 5. I'm going to add it with the value of B, which was 12. And I'm going to add it with the value of C, which was 13. And that's going to give me a perimeter of 30 feet. Okay? Now for problem number 2. Problem number 2, we have a right triangle that's formed here. And on the outsides of the triangle, we have these squares, these boxes, right? These square values. So the area of A, the square, is going to be 9. The area of B is going to be 16. I want to know what is the length of C. So essentially, because we're dealing with a square, this is essentially saying that this is A squared. The area of A is the same thing as A squared. So write that down, that A squared is the same thing as the area of A, right? We have little a by little a that we would be multiplying together. That would give me A squared. That's the area of A, which happens to be equal to 9. B squared. Little b squared is the same thing as the area of B, which happens to be 16. That means that you have your little measurement of B here, and you have your little measurement of B here. B times B is going to equal 16. And that also means that this little c times this little c, c squared, is the same thing as the area of C, which we don't know it yet. We don't know what that's going to be. But we do know that Pythagorean theorem says, hey, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And it just so happens to be that we know a squared is the area of A, plus b squared is the area of B. And that's supposed to be equal to c squared. Let me zoom in on that so you can see it a little easier. Okay, and the area of A was 9. The area of B was 16. So if we add that stuff together, that's going to give us c squared. So what's 9 plus 16? 25. So I get 25 is equal to c squared. But the question wasn't asking for the area of C. The question was asking for the length of C. So what do I need to do? Take the square root. So I'm going to take the square root of 25 and take the square root of C squared. And I'm going to find out that C is equal to 5 units. Since we don't know what the measurement is, we title it units. Okay? Any questions? All right, so what you're going to have today is a worksheet. If you finish the worksheet in class, you can turn it in. If you don't, then you need to finish it for homework. It'll be due the very moment you get into class tomorrow.